I've been asked to talk about, on the theme, inclusive. And that's what me and my colleagues work with every day. But I'm also invited here to talk about my personal journey when it comes to inclusive leadership and how to kind of get by in a world that is not always going it or taking it your own way. So I would say that the theme today is courage and grit and inclusive leadership, which is not easy all the time, but after a while, you do discover that there's a lot of business value in being inclusive, even if it's not obvious for everyone. We're always talking about the glass ceiling, especially if you talk about gender equality. And I hit it a few times. It's always very interesting because it always comes when you least expect it. And you think everything's going well and so on. And then suddenly it just says boom. We meet a lot of people in my daily work. I have a colleague here today, Emma, sitting over there waving. What we do in our daily work is, among other things, meeting a lot of foreign-born academics coming to this part of Sweden just to discover that their human capital is not as evaluated as it was in New York or Berlin or Kuala Lumpur or wherever they're from, which might be a shock sometimes. And this glass ceiling thing, it's also a shock when it comes because you don't see it coming. So better prepare for it. But the thing is also that to be able to cope with this glass ceiling or the glass walls that we say that our the academics we meet that are looking for work, because they have good educations, they have a lot of language skills and so on, but it's still very difficult to get out into the Swedish job market. These glass walls, they're very visible, but you do hit them hard when you can't go through. And then the important thing is to have a solid base, to have a rocket-proof, solid floor to stand on. And with that I mean to have the values around you, to have the people around you, to have the leaders around you that will support the right thing to do, which normally is to be inclusive, because it just makes sense. And I will just go through some small things that make sense. As a mother of boys, I grew up with Yoda as the biggest hero and role model in our house. And for all of you who don't know Yoda, I see there are some young people around here, but you might have run into him, thanks to all the new movies. But trust me, I'm very well acquainted with this little guy. And it's much more to him than meets the eye, because he might be small, but he always comes with a lot of good wisdom, and he can always strike his sword if he needs to. And that is something that all of us can use, because very often we are judged by our first appearances. But just surprise people, because you can. So just turn all these things to your advantage. And I brought a little film, which is illustrating the academic term of intersectionality, which might give a hint on what we're talking about here. I just click here now. Good, thank you. This movie, it came a few years ago. Does anyone recognize it, or you've seen it before? Yeah, quite a few though. I just want to add about the situation that TV2 Denmark. TV2 is a private channel, just like Channel 4 in Sweden, kind of, or half, semi, whatever. But to take a stand like this, it was produced. Does anyone remember when it was produced, when it came? It was around Christmas 2015. And if any of you guys were around here by then, you might remember there was about 150,000 people that literally came walking through Denmark. So to take a stand like this in the Danish political situation is quite brave. And brave is something that you have to do. The reason that TV2 Denmark did this was, of course, business-wise, to make a stand, to take a stand, to show their values. And that's a completely different lecture, so we're not going to go there now. But that might be difficult sometimes. And then it's very useful to remember these kids. Those kids happened to be mine a few years ago. But the point is how they embrace the world. Because this is what kids do. And this is maybe what we all should do sometimes, now and then. If you are like on a holiday trip and you ask your kids to just pose in a beautiful place to take a picture, this is what most kids do. They stand up firmly, or they embrace the world, because that's what kids do. And then as we grow older, we become much, much more self-confident. And it's a shame, because sometimes you need to be powerful. And to look for some support there, you can listen to this lady, Harvard psychologist, Amy Cuddy. She's studying or doing research about power poses. And that's something as fascinating as neuroscience, because our brain is amazing and it supports us in so many ways, but it's also so easy to fool. I'm sure you all heard about laughter gymnastics, that you just make yourself laugh, and then after a while, suddenly you just feel happier. And that's because the brain is so easy to fool. So the thing is, if you're going into an interview or you're going into a presentation and you feel like you're not really supposed to be there, that will show. That will make the outcome of this meeting. It will have effect. But if you stand outside, I didn't do it today in the toilet, but maybe I should have. If you just stand like this for a while, or you do like Superman or Superwoman or Wonder Woman, whatever they call these days, the body adapts and the body thinks that you are a success. It's true, I swear. Try it. Next time you're nervous about anything or a little self-conscious about anything, just try to do it. Not like you're going to go into a meeting like this. That's not what I'm talking about. But that you're outside in your own privacy. Just tell the body, tell the brain that I'm a bloody success. I'm going to go in and show them that. It helps. And that means that even if you feel that you might maybe not included from the start, you will feel included when you continue there. So look at her TED Talk, it's amazing. We have another small movie that some of you might have seen. It's a little newer, it came just like a month ago. And it's about being the best you, which is the only option there is actually, because everyone else is taken.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie.
Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men, we're acting like we gonna shake it.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
Already Mr. Gandhi said that be the change you want to see. It's very easy to say that you want change, but then when you keep on asking who wants to change, nobody wants to change because it's uncomfortable, it's scary. But again, this is a company, it's a very commercial company. Gillette, I mean, they're selling shaving tools. Most people in the world use it now or then. So why on earth do they go out with a stand like this? They were really criticized, obviously. And a lot of people are suddenly going to boycott Gillette. Like, okay, I think they'll survive. But the point is that there's business value. There's business value in showing what you stand for. And the thing is, again, my voice, sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy to stand up all the time for what you believe is right, to include the new person on the job, to invite to come. In school, they talk a lot about anti-bullying things, that everyone should be included. You should invite people to come and sit and have lunch with you. And sorry, you're not supposed to exclude anyone. Everyone should be included. Sorry. When one of these boys were in first grade, They got like a schedule, or like a thank you. Every week there was like some headlines of what they were going to do this week, and it was little math here, little Swedish there, and so on. But it always had the same line, and I'm talking first grade, they're like 7 years old. We are going to talk to each other about how we want it to be in our classroom, how we're going to treat each other. And sometimes I think that would be a good line to have in most offices, like a standing point every week. And you know what? Surprise, there is a point in Arbetsmiljöförordningen. It says actually that as a leader, you are supposed to take the temperature of your workplace, maybe not every week, but now and then, to check out if there is any risk zones for discrimination. So we can talk about that another day when we talk about the law. But it will be windy on the top, because you will run into old structures. There are very many old structures, whether it's about gender equality or ethnicity or age. There's always someone who is too young or too old, or went to the wrong school, or have the wrong skin color, or whatever, to fit in. But we need to be able to see these structures through, because the problem is that when you are accustomed to privilege, equality feels like discrimination. Get over it. Because that's not the future, that's not where we are. And we just all need to remember this as we go through life. That things actually do get better if we help each other and include. Then it's not to be nice, it's to be focused. And when people tell you that you're lost, you're not. You're right here, where you are, in the place in your life, in your way of whatever you're doing. So just keep on firm and believe in what you do. Because being kind, that's the last thing I will say, it always helps. It's not always easy to be kind. It's not always easy to be inclusive, because you have all these structures and it's a lot of people working against you, but it helps. And it's quite generally acknowledged these days that if plants grow by talking kindly to them, imagine what happens with people. And last, it's all going to work out. If it's not well, it's not the ending. I know that sounds like a really cliche, but seriously, it's all gonna end well. And it's not about being naive, it's about being optimistic. And if you want to read more about that, there was a big report released just last week talking about that being optimistic is the brave thing to be. It's easy to be negative, it's easy to be cautious, because that's the reptile brain, that's the one who's telling us to back down and take it easy and protect yourself. It's much more brave to be cautious, to be optimistic. So please do. Thank you so much.